and Sandamali and all the scholars. So what we need to understand, the theme of the conference looks really interesting. So we are talking about something called digital transformation in the COVID-19 era. The digital transformation and the employee education. So whatever the time we discuss about the digital transformation, the employee education, and now we are in the post-COVID situation, we need to understand what are the challenges we have. What sort of challenges we have. In Sri Lanka now already this country declared as a bankrupt country. Now here we are sitting in a place where in Colombo University and the country we already declared as a bankrupt country. But what are the positives we can understand? What are the positives we can take? So here by looking at the statistics and all, by looking at considering the Sri Lankan Human Development Index, Sri Lanka been ranked as the 72 out of 189 countries. The Human Resource Development Index itself discusses about very important variables. Life expectancy in Sri Lanka 76 years. So we compare that with Switzerland. Switzerland is around say 84 years. So then we compare the life expectancy and all with the developed countries. And also the mean average for schooling on Sri Lanka is 14.1. The statistics will say the countries like South Sudan remain at the bottom with the life expectancy of only 55, and they have their schooling only 5.5 years. Then we need to ask a question. This country with good education and with good health service, then what has happened? So we should have a kind of a reflection. So we are performing well in different indexes like Human Resource Index. So usually we like to discuss the economic indices like growth with development. What is the difference between growth and development? Growth itself talking about some numbers. Then what about the economic development? How we define economic development? More importantly, we start to think about physical quality of life index. Again, we take into consideration the education and the health sector. So that particular sector we considered as really important. So in that scenario, last 3 years, this country with the challenges we expected to have more with the tourism, because in 2019 Sri Lanka expected 2.5 million tourists for the country, but we received 1.9 due to East attack. That particular year, statistics and everything they say the Sri Lankan economy going to have kind of a recession for say like if you compare with 20-25 years with the East attack. Then again immediately after East attack 2020-2021 we experienced something called COVID-19, two different laws where one particular country it's very difficult for us to manage. Then again this year April, Sri Lanka declared as a bankrupt country. So now we need to understand how we can get away from this. Whether only the trade union activities, whether like we need to have a kind of a thinking on belongingness towards this country, and we have to rise as a nation. So these things we need to take into consideration. By looking at the World Economic Forum with their different like research and all, they say whatever the country, if you are really looking at the development, we need to be very much concerned about specifically two different things, health and education. And even they say, one of the good observation with the expectancy, and like they compare this with malaria. With this evidence is available at the micro disease level. For example, 10% decrease in malaria is associated with the increased annual economic growth of 0.3%. So we don't have that problem. Even it say by considering the statistics, the economy of the country, the development of the particular country always concerned about two different things, the health sector and the education sector. That's why they say, this is illustrated most dramatically in China, where both infant mortality and the life expectancy improved dramatically in the year 1960s, before the surge of Chinese economic performance. In other words, countries become healthy before they become wealthy. Now we are in the paradox situation. What is the paradox situation? Sri Lanka, so we are good with health. But there is a problem with what? Wealth. I think Professor Jayadev Yangoda, his book on research methodology, something on proposal, he mentioned something called the puzzle, research puzzle. So this is one of the book we always recommend for the Sri Lankan students, because the Saunders and all books well recommended, but then not you will understand Sri Lankan sense of research methodology, research puzzle. So now we have a puzzle like what happened for this country. So we are very good with certain indices, but unfortunately this country already declared as a bankrupt country. So then we need to ask a question from us. So what about our responsibility? Is that only 225 politicians or else our own responsibility? So that is really important for us to understand. What are the challenges for the human resource development and what are the challenges for us? Specifically, we are talking about the challenges. So we need to revisit the success stories in the world. Now here we are talking about Japan economic miracle after World War. Hiroshima and Nagasaki being attacked. After that, they raised because of the attitude. So I have seen specifically in human resource development, this particular institute, the employees and the students, so they have a very good positive attitudes, not only towards the program, towards the lecturers. I will tell you one of the good example. In the morning, I came with Mr. Nilantha. Nilantha මට කියනවා sir, පොළවේ පය ගහලා හිට ගුරුවරු ඉන්නේ. සාගර sir ගැන කිව්වා. Vice Chancellor sir ගැන කිව්වා. අන්න එතන we discuss about something called in marketing, we talk about internal marketing. So we need to have a sense of feeling about the human being, about the employees. Unless we can't do human resource. Human resource development should start with the organization. The country also, we are talking about the agenda of the country. We need to identify, we have to empower people. Prior to empowering people, we have to educate people about the problems. This attitude problem issue I have seen as one of the obstacles. In Sri Lanka, we have many ATM machines. We go to the ATM machine. They ask one particular thing from us, whether you need a receipt. Most of the time I have seen, without any purpose, people take the receipt and throw it back. But the person taking that receipt and throw it back, go in front of the people and teach 5 ways. And there is a problem. What is the, again we are talking about paradox situation. So you need to have your own standards to be maintained. That also part and parcel of the human resource development that we need to understand. By looking at these transformational trends, so this I cited from another scholar, where he discussed about the digital transformation and what are the trends in the world. So we can see many factors. The improved accessibility and access. What is accessibility? What is access? Especially if you are going to target the employees, whatever the place they are in, we need to target them. In Open University, in pharmaceutical, pharma, economic subject, I do something, one particular specific component on management and marketing. So therefore the pharmacy students in the weekdays, 9 to 12, because of this online, is very much available for everyone. By 10:30, or like I have a kind of a practice, always I give them a small assessment. And I ask them to talk. Out of 25-30 students, only 12 is going to discuss because others they are not available. අපි ඒ කාලේ කොහොමද ගුරුසිත නොරිදවා වේලාව නොවරදවා කියලා. එතකොට මොකද වෙන්නේ? There's a contradiction. So accessibility is there, but the discipline factor we need to consider. So anyway, we need to accept the fact like people are really busy with work, then we can get the particular video like downloaded and they can watch the video in a different time. So these are the favorable factors. But if the lecturer is going to deliver the lecture, if the students are not available, then we don't feel like it's a kind of a lecture. And even in Sri Lankan context, we are very much concerned about something called human touch. What is human touch? The physical lectures, we get the feeling. But the online lectures, we don't get the feeling. But there are certain advantages. Whatever the place, without having any problem, you can access. Then the personalized learning approaches. You can understand the students. You can identify what are the problems. We use the learning management system called Model, where we have a place called virtual canteen. In that particular virtual canteen, students can discuss about, say like Argentina versus France or German, that match. Then we can identify their particular way they post, their particular like interaction and all. We can have personalization. Then virtual reality. What is virtual reality? This is very important for digital transformation. So we can convert the place into like kind of hands-on experience virtually. The physical case studies and all in the virtual environment, I think you know something called Second Life. Like this Canada and all, they use that. So we can get a kind of a feeling or practice prior to the engagement in the organization. Maybe something on attitude, maybe something on perception, maybe something on belongingness to the workplace, maybe something on like how you engage with certain aspects of organization or culture. So these things, like we can have a kind of a different setting. So they have this virtual reality, maybe certain case studies and all. So we can practice that. Then cloud-based learning opportunities is one of the very important things at home, in the organization, even in the classroom setting. You can connect with the people. That is really important. Then here we are talking about incorporating the IoT. The Internet of Things. I like to align with the final one on big data. I think Vice Chancellor categorically mentioned about this data. So in Sri Lanka, there is a problem where we have data but we don't use the data, the information, statistics and all. So you can refer Census and Statistics Department and all. So here we are talking about Internet of Things. In some universities in the world, they can, by using IoT and all, they can control the temperature. They can understand the particular interaction of the students. With the algorithm and all, they identify certain things. Even with the big data, they understand certain trends. Classroom attendance tendency, online versus offline. So how we are going to define the graduate profile? Whether this graduate profile and in any relationship with the organization, with the company demand for the graduates, maybe in IHR. So this big data with data mining and data warehousing, easily you can use if you have this digital transformation. So that is really important for you to understand. Because you know, like trends of the country, here in this situation in Sri Lankan context, we can see different trends of the country. So I will discuss certain scenarios where people start to migrate. So as the Dean of the Faculty, usually like 3 months back, 3 to 4 months back, I got like only 2 to 3 like referee reports. But every day now I get in 6 to 7. Then I ask them, okay, why you are going? So they don't have specific answer. They say, sir, I feel like because of this problem with the like petrol, the fuel and all, I feel like I have to go. Then again, the second question we usually ask from them, so we ask certain questions, no? The second question we ask, you go to Canada, Calgary in that university to follow the program, then what about the next step? Then sir, I am going to get my PR, then I bring my family. So then again, is there any assurance of getting PR? No. The third and fourth question I ask, okay, what about the situation in the country where the situation of the country become normal? I don't think. Because ultimately they've been already brainwashed, so they like to go. Even the lecturers or whatever the person say, so the mode we need to change. The capsule of the mode to change actually should be with the IHR maybe, because you have better reach for the employees in the country. So you can use certain strategies, because we can't say you don't go, you have to retain in the country, but you need to understand the free education, the Kannangar policy and all. So K-12 education, grade 1 to 12, we get the free education. The university also free education. So then again, we need to repay whatever this we get. So without repaying, so what we do, say at home you have a problem. So what do? You should stay at home or go abroad. Now Sri Lanka, we need to have belongingness, we have to think this is my home. Then again, what sort of things I am going to do? So we have to have a kind of a different calculation, that is very important. But that part also we have to identify the big data and IoT, Internet of Things, the trends we have to classify. In the classroom setting and the employee education, most of the international universities, they use this big data to identify the student proficiencies and also their international outreach. So then how we are going to identify the student attendance? Then is there any relationship between attendance and the performance of the student, the underperforming students? So we need to identify the trends. Then what is this digital citizenship? So if you are a digital citizen, you need to understand the skills, competencies, knowledge possessed in the digital landscape. Say like you go to Facebook, how you are going to make a comment? What sort of ethical aspect you have? So that part also we need to understand. That is really important, really interesting. You should have some skills. So where you are going to comment, where you represent, because if you are a student in IHR, you make a comment criticizing certain things, you have to understand the repercussions, not for the country, but for the institute as well. So you have to be very much concerned about these things. And the security across digital devices, we have online proctoring services and all. So all the factors across the board is really important. And also, now with ICTA, the digital transformation COVID-19, ICTA, they have a different platform for the policy for digital transformation of education. I think Professor Sagar, you know this. This is actually incorporated by the Education Ministry and all. So they have this policy for digital transformation of education. They discuss about this with a very interesting PDF document with this like 19 objectives, starting with digital transformation in education to security, software use, ICT development. This is concentrated for the education sector in Sri Lanka, but for our institutes also we can incorporate this as a best practice. So in collaboration with ITTA and the Education Ministry. So why I am telling this, for the country to move forward, we should have collaboration. The competition is not relevant. I think you know the blue ocean theory. In blue ocean we say uncontested market space. What is uncontested market space? So we are not going for red ocean. What is red ocean? Cutthroat competition. The ocean always become bloody red. Right? We have to go for what? The blue ocean, that we call as what? Uncontested market space, where the competition is not relevant. For a country like us, we need to have a collaboration. Maybe with ITTA, maybe with the Education Ministry, maybe with other, like universities. Then only we can see the future focus. So one of the good example, say, in Sri Lanka, in tourism, we say one of the number one tourist destination is Sigiri. Sigiri, up to now there is no proper website. We don't have proper website for Sigiri. I'm not talking about this, something like sigiri.org. So whatever the website you go abroad, other countries, you can see all the facilities, functions, the destination to different hotels. Still in this country, we don't have proper website for sea green. Even you just type coconut in Sri Lanka, and you just type coconut in Thailand. In coconut in Sri Lanka, you type on Google, you can see people are climbing. But coconut in Thailand, you can see value-added products. Basic fundamental of digital marketing. So you can't compete. For a developing country, you have to have collaboration. Once you develop only, we can have a competition. So that also we need to understand. Then post-COVID world actually is a different world. What sort of a difference you can see? The post-COVID world. Now we hear this conference room also, few people they wear the mask. But some people they don't wear the mask. So it's a kind of a complex situation. But we need to read this complex situation where at every one of us we do something called SWOT analysis. So our strengths, weaknesses, opportunities and threats. So for the country also you need to have this SWOT analysis, and we have to identify in Sri Lanka now there is a strategic window open. Strategic window in strategic management we define as a temporary time period the opportunity being created in the market. So Sri Lanka, because of these problems, I think I defined 3 different blows. East attack, COVID-19 and the mismanagement and all with this scenario in economics. So we have to think like there is one opportunity being created because people start to think something in a different way. So in that scenario, I think this is one of the article you can refer the world after COVID-19 where this actually been published in the Commonwealth Journal of International Affairs. So we always recommend the scholars to refer good articles. Don't try to just get from the Google Scholar. What is the problem of getting Google Scholar? Some articles we considered as listed as the predatory journals. So because of that, we recommend every time you can use the Belize list. You just type Belize list, you can search thousands of blacklisted journals, even cited in Google Scholar. Because of that, we always recommend students to go for good databases like Emerald, Chesto, something like that. Then you can get a quality articles. This article itself talking about this COVID situation. They say use of tracking devices to monitor citizens would conflict with human rights. That is one aspect. But IT will play a major role in all aspects in life, in education, e-governance, commerce. The role of the IT. So that is really important. And also the employee education. This particular area, we need to understand how COVID-19 has affected employee skills training. So most of the institutes in the UK, like even US, in other international countries, they have done some studies. The McKinsey and all. With their studies, in one of the statistics I just want to discuss with you, with one research, where they say online training has proven to be more effective. In that question, 68% of the people say equally effective if you compare with offline. But the 13% of the people say more effective. So by getting this 68 plus 13, 81% of the companies, they move to the classroom-based training online, said the online training is at least as effective as live in-person classrooms. But this study is extensively done in the international arena. But in Sri Lanka, we need to have more practical approach. So what are the challenges for Sri Lanka? So we need to understand the challenges. I consider myself as number one challenge in Sri Lanka. We have 1.5 million government servants. Statistically 1.5 million, but they say we need only, maybe 7 lakhs. Then again, remaining 8 lakhs, what we need to do? So these are the fundamental problems we have to identify. Right? So, government sector, Sri Lanka has more than 1.5 million public sector employees at present. The size having doubled over the past 15 years. And also 26,000 employees working in the state-owned Ceylon Electricity Board alone, an institution that can be run with just 5,000 employees. But next month onwards, we have to pay more for what? Electricity. So these are the like statistics, and I mentioned about this economic crisis. Then again, one of the article published by Mr. Erandi Rohan in Daily FT, the labor migration by skill category. Here you can see the increase of professionals, middle level skill, clerical, semi-skill, lower skill level, professional level 9.54 in 2021. Then the middle level 4.46, skilled, then other levels, lower skill level, I think there's a slight decline if you compare with 2020 to 2021. But this 9 months or 10 months, we need to compare with this 2021 statistics. It can be very much critical. So I propose you to read this article also. The comparison of number of jobs received and recruitment in health sector. Nurses, then nurse house female, then assistant health care, nursing home. So this can be considered as one of the popular category. One of my friend actually work as a DGM. So 2 weeks back I went to King's Hospital to pick him because he is going to migrate. So he is following a certificate course for this like daycare and all. First degree from Jawaharlal, then second degree also masters. So that is the situation. They are going to migrate. Not for the deputy general manager post, but for what? It's totally different post. So we have to identify why this happened, right? We need to have our own reflections as well. For a solution of this, I think Madihe Panyasiya Tero, Madiha Hamdulu Kila Tero, Tanaka, Minisa Hadanatu Rata Edino. Madiha Hamdulu Gana Katakaranatu, John F. Kennedy and Kataka, Apimusu Samata, Pidigan Nativus. John F. Kennedy, one of the most popular presidents in US, he mentioned, very important thing. Ask not what your country can do for you. Ask what you can do for your country. With this digital transformation, employee education, we need to have our own reflection. So that is another very important thing. We have to identify this particular speech of John F. Kennedy being embedded to the education in US in grade 3 to 6 levels. So how they respect for their presidents, how they extracted the speeches of the president to the curriculum. In Sri Lanka, the kid might be weight of say like 28 kilos, begin a bag of 22 kilos. That is our education, quantity or quality. But we have to have a best practice. We discuss about Finland education and other education sectors. So what sort of things we already absorb to the system. So this is another good example. The students or even kids need to understand that. And even in the final note, I will just let you know, the universities should produce entrepreneurs, not employees. So what is this entrepreneurial minded individual? Even for a organization employees, you can have entrepreneurial mindset. What is that? You have to think something in a critical way. So here we say transfer to a specific state of mind which predisposes human conduct towards entrepreneurial activities such as open-mindedness, creativity, innovation and availability for taking calculated risk. So it means technically for employees also you can have an entrepreneurial mindset. With this creativity, Albert Einstein once mentioned the imagination is more important than knowledge. What is the most important thing in the world? The imagination. So we need to understand this aspect. We have to take that into consideration. And also I think this one of the article we have published in 2021 September, where in this article I propose every Sri Lankan citizen, in the body we should take something called the Oath of Kannanga. In CWW Kannanga in 1940s introduced the free education to Sri Lanka. Okay, හොඳ කතාවක් තියෙනවා කන්නගර මහත්තයා මේ දස අධ්‍යාපනයේ පනත ඉදිරිපත් කරලා මන්ත්‍රණ සභාවෙන් පල්ලයට පයි යද්දී ඉන්දියන් මන්ත්‍රණ සභාවේ සභිකයෙක් කියලා බදාගෙන ගෝල ඔබතුමා දෙවියෙක් කියලා කිව්වා. එහෙම කියපු කන්නන්දර මහත්තයා 1949 මතුගම ආසනේ සමාජවාදී අපේක්ෂිතව පරද්දා. හැබැයි if you looking at the statistical figures, articles and all published about Dr. Kannangar and the free education movement, so you can see thousands of articles being published in abroad, in different countries. Some PhD studies, I quoted one PhD study where in one of the articles I have cited in post-colonial and marketing and literacy rate, where the entire PhD study, the person being done by using the free education movement of Dr. W.W. Kannangar. So, because of that only in Sri Lanka, even I myself, with my education, university education, we are surviving. So we have to have kind of a different mindset. So we have how we repay whatever this we gave. That part also we need to understand in a different perspective. So what I just want to tell you with the digital transformation and our employee education, we have to recognize the facts. I think I mentioned about certain aspects, and we have to identify what are the challenges in the country, because this country already declares as a bankrupt country, but there's a strategic window open. Every one of us can get together and try to move this country forward with the understanding of the quotation of John F. Kennedy called, ask what you can do for your country, not the country can do for you. So that is something I just want to mention. I think the research itself, we consider it as really important. What Professor Sagar mentioned is really correct. In the research conferences and all, we add new knowledge for the existing domain of knowledge. So you make the presentations here in front of the audience, then others are going to contribute by asking questions. This can be one of the good practice in the world. So in the rankings and all, so we have to be very vigilant on the different ranking methods like Times ranking, the QBS ranking, and certain ranking like Webonometrics and all. So whatever the presence you have and your presentation skills, so everything we are going to consider as really important. So I would like to wish you all the best for the conferences. Thank you very much.